I guess, yeah, why do you think this left-brained, mechanistic, materialistic framework has won when, there is that inherent capacity for that right-brained, intuitive, creative, feminine
Oh, that's
way?
a big question, man. That is such a big question. Because that touches on so many things. Um, let's see. Um, One of the big topics that I've covered, really, in fact, I would say this is one of the central topics that I've tried to cover with Formscapes, is this notion of human consciousness evolution. Um, and the way that our egos, which is to say our sense of selfhood, what we consider to be like inside of this like bubble of what we feel ourselves to be and what we feel like we have agency over. This bubble has kind of been shifting and morphing and growing over time. Okay. The human ego, and you could just as easily use the word soul. It's the thing that is the self identity of the thing, which I believe is a transcendental thing. It is not something that the brain is doing, it is something that psyche in the metaphysical sense is doing in conjunction in dynamic relationship with the body in the exact same way that we see this back and forth between the right and the left brain. It's the same thing. And these souls, these eyes, these egos, um, they have been transmigrating. They're these forces at work through which the same soul can be reinstantiated. It's reincarnation, and it works on the basis somehow of this very bizarre continuity of like narrative, which is where we can get into like Jungian stuff and like all this really arcane stuff. But let me answer the question first. The left brain kind of mechanical. See, I'm tempted to even put it that way because that's not really what the left brain is the deal. We've created this very unusual situation where we're like forcing the left brain to do that. But what the left brain really is it just takes ideas, images, dreams, myths, yeah, all this stuff that's coming from the right brain, and then it's just implementing that. It's just like bringing the rubber to the road in terms of like how life is lived and what we do. Which is why I would also question the idea that the left brain is masculine and the right brain is feminine. I think that's a little twisted up too, and that's a whole other thing we could get into. That left brain way of navigating the world and actually just going through life it is very much holistic insofar as it's actually in communication with the right brain and there's actually a balance going on here. But what happens is this: when you kind of sever the two, where you take that left brain stuff and you're like, okay, we're going to make the left brain concerned with building machines, designing procedures, increasing stakeholder profits, whatever. And in the right brain, you get to go over here with the fluffy, nonsensical stuff that doesn't really matter, and you get to make some art and talk about your feelings and all that fun stuff. But this is what we care about. We care about what's going on with the left brain because that's how you produce, right? And so, to make a very long story short, though I would like to make it long if we can touch upon the different points, is that capitalism, for lack of a better term, but just to encompass this whole machine of modernity that got going really during the Renaissance, has found the left brain in when it's isolated from the right brain to be extremely useful for its purposes, because when the two are in communication, the left brain is able to be getting these ideas that are in constant communication with living reality, right? The right brain perceives wholes. It perceives the depths of things, the meanings of things, and whatnot. And then when it's feeding that to the left brain, then the left brain is operating in this very organic, naturalistic way. When the right brain's no longer in the picture, then what does the left brain have to work with? All it has to work with are the procedures, the equations, the numbers on the screen, these completely inert abstractions, which are themselves completely cut off from the whole, from the organic. It becomes the left brain. It is being thereby made into a kind of machine in order to serve machines, right?
Wow. I am wanting right now to like pinpoint sort of like the difference between, you know, the ones who don't realize they're in the machine versus the ones who are very kind of like awake to it. And like,
Yeah, I mean the awakening you're talking about, like, this is probably the most culturally poignant time to be talking about that for sure, because there does kind of seem to be this mass awakening going on, and it's definitely not everybody. I mean, there are definitely lots of people who are still kind of like leaning into this idea that business as usual will go on somehow. But I find that even that is dwindling. I find that even the people who are really committed to, like fractional reserve banking style capitalism and neoliberalism and mechanistic science, it's not like even they aren't saying like, yes, everything's fine. Like they like you can even when they talk, if you listen to them, there's like this underlying like almost apocalyptic tone with which but then they'll pivot to start talking about these grand like transhumanist ideas, like, yes, we're gonna escape by creating our own matrix, and then we'll get to live forever in the pods and all that. And so it's like even those who seem the most committed to the quote unquote machine, there's still this underlying feeling of like, this is not working. Something about this just does not feel right.